AI is playing a very important role. And even the OEMs or the solution providers for these technologies, they have definitely done a lot, already in integrating AI capabilities into their solutions.
So when you look at from a AI perspective, and especially for combating the AI-based technologies to stop the threat, to fight the cybercrime, right? It really depends who's using it and how it's using it.
AI impacting decision-making process, within the organizations. Do you see that happening when it comes to cybersecurity risk? And are we entering an era where, AI will dictate many of security measures, or will human insight still play a key role?
Moving forward, in probably in few years, definitely a lot of upskilling would happen. People will have to understand data analytics, data science, how to leverage AI capabilities or ML capabilities, and use to best of the objectives and best of its capabilities.
First and foremost is most of the organizations today already looking at upping the game in terms of any investment that they're making in the cybersecurity today. The IT budget is not just about running a new program. It's also about consolidation. It's also about deploying some tools to automate some of the decision making. Okay.
Right.
I'll tell you, let's say if a company, an organization is running 24/7 SOC, there's obviously a human element involved in terms of they're looking at the logs, they're looking at all the alerts which are generated by the system. But can human go through every logs? The answer is no, because there are tons of logs, lines. It's very difficult for a human to read and then act accordingly.
Hello, I'm Khushbu Soni. I'm the founder of The Mainstream. Thank you so much for all our viewers to watching our series across various platforms and all our episodes. This one's a little special because we definitely feel it's a need of the hour. We're going to be talking about the future of cybersecurity. Is AI an ally or adversary? And why this topic is because we are in time where AI is reshaping cybersecurity on both ends. It's helping us predict and prevent attacks more efficiently, but it's also being used to launch them. It's fascinating and slightly intimidating and duality. Today, we'll unpack what this really means for businesses, teams, and leaders. And to help us do that, we have two brilliant minds with us who bring a wealth of knowledge and real-world experience to the table. We have our guest, Mr. Vikrant Sharma, Deputy Vice President of Information Security at TransUnion CIBIL. Vikrant's role is building strong, compliant, and resilient security frameworks for organizations. He has 14 plus years of experience in navigating security for various industries and has led numerous security initiatives and critical audit engagements with well-established auditing firms and overseen complex consulting projects that have strengthened TransUnion's overall security posture. His expertise lies in navigating the tricky balance of regulatory compliance, risk management, and real-world business enablement. He's someone who's in the trenches every day, ensuring the systems we trust with our data are safe and secure. Vikrant, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us, and we're super excited to have this conversation from you and learn from your current expertise that you've built around the same. Thank you, Vikrant.
Thank you, Khushbu, for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this conversation, of course. Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm also accompanied by Hitesh Pathak. Hitesh is a solution engineering head for India and SAARC region at Cloudflare. With over 25 years in the IT and cybersecurity space, Hitesh has worn many hats, from leading pre-sales and architecture discussions with top banks and enterprises at various organizations such as Cisco and Checkpoint. At Cloudflare, he's now driving tech strategy and client engagement across mid-market and enterprise segments. He's someone who not only understands the tech, but also how it impacts the real-time decisions. Hitesh, thank you so much for joining us, and really looking forward to this conversation with you today.
Thank you, Khushbu. Thank you for having me.
All right, fantastic. So I want to begin with putting across my first question to both Vikrant and Hitesh. Let's start with the big question, AI in cybersecurity. friend or foe? What's your initial take based on your current work and industry trends that you see? Maybe we can start with Vikrant and then Hitesh, you can take over.
Yeah, sure. Interesting topic, of course. See, before we start speaking about AI and ML and all these latest technologies, first of all, I just wanted to lay down the context with which I am coming from during this conversation. There are two things that I would clearly would like to highlight. One, from whatever I experienced in past, AI is not about man versus machine. It's about man with machine, right? It depends on a lot on who's building it. Right. And second thing, we have come into an era wherein AI is more about a strategic capability, right? It's not like you are experimenting with AI or you are still exploring the world of AI. Organizations are really, have started implementation of AI in the cybersecurity space or for that matter, other technological space and started maturing. With that context, I would like to say that AI is both a friend and a foe, right? It depends on who is using it. And definitely on a defensive side, AI is helping organizations a lot, in the space of cybersecurity. For example, in terms of detecting threats, fast-paced risk assessments, conducting automated proactive vulnerability assessments, right? In fact, the whole process of identification of incidents and then evaluating the risk, taking proactive measures basically to reduce or mitigate the effect of those risks. AI is playing a very important role. And even the OEMs or the solution providers for these technologies, they have definitely done a lot, already in integrating AI capabilities into their solutions, right? I mean, today, traditional cybersecurity is no more the game, right? Wherein we always used to work on known patterns and, signatures by these threat detecting capabilities that we have. But it's more about having more fast paced, proactive assessments, take a knowledge graph, evaluate it proactively with all the artificial intelligence, and produce the right set of actions that are actionable. It's not just in theory, right? Those are actionable, right? And in fact, AI could help you action those things, right? So a lot of things like in cybersecurity space, we have defense in depth. We have perimeter solutions like IPS or WAF, right? They're already products which are infused with AI capabilities. So that's primarily on the defensive side, and it reduces a lot of time to react to threats from hours or days to seconds these days, right? So that's how it has evolved as of now. But we cannot shy away from the fact that the adversaries also have access to the same AI capabilities, right? Attackers do have access to that these days. If we know the industry trends, there are a lot of AI capabilities being used to send velocity of phishing messages, right?
Yeah.
A lot of phishing message deepfakes, right? All these are AI capabilities that are being used by adversaries, and definitely, it has become more of a game. It's just about who reaches the second win first, right? So it's all about that. That's my take right now.
Fantastic. With the same question coming to you, Hitesh, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Vikrant has really touched most of it. I would like to just add a couple of points to that. So when you look at from a AI perspective, and especially for combating the AI-based technologies to stop the threat, to fight the cybercrime, right? It really depends who's using it and how it's using it, right? For example, for someone who's like building a system based on AI, right? They have to keep constantly updating their logic, their data, so that AI can take a faster decision but a better decision. For that, the training is very, very important, right? Because AI runs on machine learning, and machine learning is from where the intelligence is being derived, right? So for companies, if you look at Cloudflare, right, we put a lot of emphasis on how can AI be used to prevent and fight against the crime, which is like could be 0 day or could be just in time, right? So from that perspective, it is really helping the organizations to stay secure, to stay ahead. But at the same time, if you look at the way we have access to AI enabled systems, right, or AI based technologies, even the attackers also have similar access to it. It doesn't take much time for someone to create a small phishing program and start sending this out to the mass audience, right? So it doesn't need a very specific programming skill for someone to write a code, right? Similarly, in case of phishing attack, right, we see so many ways of initiating a phishing attack through an email, through various means and provides, right, which is actually helping the attackers to fast track the job which used to earlier take a lot of days and months, right?
Yeah.
Something that if you really look at from the adoption of AI, typically in the cybersecurity space, it is both. It is definitely helping the companies who are fighting against the crime, but so someone who is utilizing this as a tool or medium to initiate an attack on some other infrastructure. For me, definitely, it's not something which is valuable, right? So we definitely to see where we can bring the balance. Close watch on how both, whether it is helping or non-helping, things are evolving. Because I believe, as Vikrant mentioned, is that it is not human versus AI. It is about human and AI. Right, both have to work
Correct.
together collaboratively to make sure that this is contained and being put to the better use. Right.
Absolutely. Great, fantastic. Moving on, Vikrant, with your experience in managing compliance heavy environments and audits, how do you see AI influencing regulatory landscapes and risk assessments in cybersecurity?
I'll still stick to the thought that it's again a strategic capability. In compliance, regulated compliance heavy environments or regulated industries, right? Again, there's a balanced approach. AI is both a catalyst, as well as a disruptor, in the regulatory environments. What RBI is expecting, or for that matter, SEBI, and IRDA, if they are looking at AI, the shift is not in reviewing the implementation of AI. It's about, because definitely those are capabilities that are strategic decisions of the company or the organization. But what they're looking is if we are getting into a concept of trustworthy or explainable AI, right? And that's where the truth is. It's not about believing AI as a black box and it does everything today. No. Today, the industries, the SMEs, the regulators and the industry leaders, they are looking more towards explainable AI, wherein they could peep into the underlying algorithms, use cases, that if AI has made a certain decision or maybe arrived at a certain risk, what is the model behind that, right?
Yeah.
How transparent that. So AI, if it is running some processes, those have to be transparent, auditable, that should have an audit trail, and definitely that logic has to be justified. And that's where the competency lies. If you have to manage AI in a heavy regulatory environment or compliance oriented industries, you definitely, it's not only about implementation of AI, it's about exploring explainable AI or more trustworthy AI, right? So that transparency has to come in. Probably, the technology folk, and it requires a good niche of skill, between both understanding cybersecurity as well as, having knowledge around AI and data analytics, so that you can understand the concept, make sure that you have enough auditable trails and transparency to justify to the regulators that the model that we are running, the AI that we are running, is trustworthy. It is giving us the right logic and is helping us reduce our effort as well as at the same time.
Sure, Grant. And with so much of regulatory forces for the financial organization, it is very, very important to really identify the responsible use of AI, even in the cybersecurity space, right? Hitesh, you've been interacting with a lot of financial organizations, regulated banks, etc., and also CISOs and industry at large. How are you seeing AI being integrated in the security stack, especially in the threat detection and mitigation landscape?
My experience so far, based on the interaction that we have with various CXO audiences, right, is that many of have started. I mean, the AI related project has kicked off, but they are facing some challenge. Either the project is not completed on time, or they are facing some challenge in terms of not having a proper direction in terms of what is the expected outcome that they want to see at the end of the project. Now, this is purely from a business standpoint in terms of the initiative the organizations are planning today. But when it comes to looking at threat perspective, right? One of the quick examples that I can think of and relate to is, let's say a company is looking to launch an application. Okay, there are various ways of building an application, right? Either you can have an application built from scratch in the organization by either in-house or outsourcing it to the developer firm, or you can quickly pick up a code from somewhere and then start building on top of it, right? Many times organizations overlook the intricacies of utilizing the code from publicly available repositories. It might have something which is not being batched. And then we have seen enough examples, right? I mean, we all know that the SolarWinds attack, for example, supply chain attack, right? Which was again an example where companies do not put a practice in place where they really want to look at each and every aspect of a code right from shift left in terms of designing the code before it can be put to the production. So in a way, it is inviting a lot of attackers to get an easy access to the application because the application was built on a very, very loose platform, not a very strong or a robust, right? So practices like CSPM, practices like a strong, shift left kind of an approach makes and ensure that the code before it go to the production is completely risk free, has been thoroughly detected against any loopholes which can possibly exist in the application, right? And then ensuring that this is completely not having any inherent vulnerabilities, because that is what the attackers are finding. So typically, if you see, there are attackers spend roughly around 200 days to initiate an attack on an organization. What exactly they do? They look at easy target. They find out which are the vulnerabilities exist in an application which is publicly exposed, right?
Right.
So when you look at threat vector, it is nothing but the moment to start, putting your asset on the internet, right? You are supposed to, give an adequate protection around that application, that asset, right? So that it doesn't get into wrong hands, it doesn't get exposed. So this is what
Yeah.
I think the threat that I see, and accordingly, the companies have to also work towards putting a defense and depth approach. How do you prevent and secure those crown gel in the applications?
Perfect.
While I just was hearing Hitesh, I just had one point to add here. So
Sure.
AI definitely supports compliance, but in sight of all these regulations that are now increasingly focusing on compliance, it is very important to build the right standards or a standardized framework for AI governance. So
Right.
governance and oversight, it is becoming more critical. In fact, the regulators are more prescriptive in terms of how the AI has to be used, what aspects need to be audited, how it should be deployed. So moving forward, definitely DPDP is one of the things which is in the right set, but all other regulatory frameworks would start focusing more on such aspects. So they would expect the organization not to implement AI, but also to build a very strong, auditable governance, and compliance frameworks around usage of AI. So that's just I wanted to add.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Foresee the impact AI impacting decision making process, within the organizations. Do you see that happening when it comes to cybersecurity risk? And are we entering an era where, AI will dictate many of security measures, or will human insight still play a key role? Do you see that happening as well?
AI is definitely not yet replacing the users, the end users these days, or the SMEs. Rather, their capabilities would be augmented, right? As I said, it's not about man versus machine, it's about man with
Yeah.
machine, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has to understand the concept that there has to be strong governance and transparency into how you are using AI and what is the intent. So intent drives a lot, right? It's all about, it's my intent that how am I going to use AI, right? So it's all about the intent. Moving forward, in probably in few years, definitely a lot of upskilling would happen. People will have to understand data analytics, data science, how to leverage AI capabilities or ML capabilities, and use to best of their objectives and best of its capabilities.
Yeah.
Decision making, I don't think. Again, coming back to the core of the question, whether it will take decision making capabilities. That's where I earlier said that we'll have to put some governance frameworks around it, wherein we have to limit the usage of AI. We have to be very proactive in understanding that what are we using for, and that cannot, and we should not, I won't say cannot, but that should not take away the decision making or strategy formulation capabilities of the end users, because it is ultimately the organization, the man who is using it to its purpose. So I won't say that it should. Definitely, if it is used with the right intent, it cannot.
Got it. Got it. Hitesh, adversaries are also using AI. We've been discussing all of it in our conversation, and right from deep fakes to social engineering, automated attack scripts. How do an organization stay one step ahead? And is AI a double-edged sword? What's your thoughts on that?
I think, Khushbu, First and foremost is most of the organizations today already looking at upping the game in terms of any investment that they're making in this cybersecurity today, right?
Right.
I was reading some Gartner quote, kind of a research that they published, where they are talking about roughly about 5% increase in the budget, IT budget, especially because of some AI based initiative within the organization, right?
Yeah.
And out of that, if you look at the IT budget, it's not just about running a new program. It's also about consolidation. It's also about deploying some tools to automate some of the decision making. Okay,
Right.
I'll tell you. Let's say if a company, an organization is running 24/7 SOC, there's obviously a human element involved in terms of they're looking at the logs, they're looking at all the alerts which are generated by the systems. But can human go through every logs? The answer is no, because there are tons of logs, lines. It's very difficult for a human to read and then act accordingly. In such cases, AI based inference or AI based training can really be very handy and helpful to narrow down the search criteria and then just highlight something which are very, very critical, which needs to be actioned. And then when the human will, take corrective action in terms of what should we do with that adversary in terms of impact, right? So decision making is definitely is there, but it works in a way the filtration of data in terms of
Yeah.
a right element out of a particular log of data or tons of data which is available is something happening at an AI or a machine learning level, which is helping the human to take a corrective decision or something like actionable intelligence. This is
Right.
what passed on to us. It become more accurate and more learned process where it is not a blind decision, but more of an informed decision in terms of how do you want to react to this particular advice, like a DDoS attack or any kind of an attack which is targeted towards the organization. So I think it is really working well, and many organizations have learned hard way that we just can't rely totally on automated process, but have to have a human element be part of that decision making process.
Super, fantastic. Vikrant, how are you preparing your internal teams for AI-driven security practices? Are they upskilling initiatives that are currently, driving these kind of mind shifts that requires attention? How are you currently looking at that?
Sure. So, Khushbu, upskilling and training on new technologies is definitely with the major industries and very heavily regulated industries is more of it becomes top priority of the board, the top management, right? And that's how it is today. As I said, AI is not just a tool; it's a shift in the mindset, right? It's a whole paradigm shift. How we think about threat detection in cybersecurity, or how do we respond, or how do we have to manage the risks, right? So it's more of shift in the whole mindset. But definitely, our security teams and IT teams, and even across the industries, right? There are numerous trainings available in the market, as well as the organizations are also helping the end users to have hands-on training on AI tools, threat modeling, definitely incorporating machine learning as well. Make them learn how to interpret the outputs of AI, right? There are a lot of cross-functional learnings also happening because definitely if we have to protect a certain system which is AI enabled, maybe that's being used by some other function, not a technology function, but operations maybe, right? Or products. They're also leveraging AI. So we need to, there are a lot of cross-functional trainings also, we should foster and encourage, wherein people understand how AI is helping not only cybersecurity, but all the other operational functions within different industries today. So it's very important, proactive, intelligence-led approach, rather than reactive one. That's what the shift I'm talking about. If people understand that very layman, then probably they'll take the, AI trainings and, upskilling themselves in the right manner. So yeah, that's happening definitely today across the industries. Yes.
Sure, lovely. Hitesh, in cloud native environments, how can AI help address the complexity of modern infrastructure? What does Cloudflare envision for AI in the evolution of SASE or zero trust?
I think we are very, very serious about helping our customers to to help them stay ahead of all the adversaries, which is that we hear every now and then, right?
Yeah.
The way we're addressing is that we have announced a framework called Defensive AI, and in case those who do not know, Cloudflare is a cloud native platform. We started with simple concept of running everything in the cloud, right? Which is nothing but just a single code runs across the infrastructure, which helps me to program every edge locations to the fastest speed that I can think of, right?
Yeah.
Which means that today, if I let's say, so today we are present across 300 plus cities globally, right? In terms of handling all the threats on a daily basis. This helps me build the intelligence around the newer threats that we see on a daily basis. So I'm enriching my database. I'm adding more and more threat patterns as I learn. The easiest thing that I can do at the flash of a second is to build that into an intelligence, into a signature format, and push that across to my entire network. So any customer who's just been onboarded or a customer who's already been with Cloudflare for a long time will always see a same level of protection coming to their way by virtue of this intelligence which is available through my centralized deployment architecture, right? Even though we run the applications and the security feature functionality on the edge, what powers the entire network is my centralized threat control, right? So because of this AI, because of the defensive AI, the framework that Cloudflare has launched, we're ensuring that not just one part of the element of the security tool that Cloudflare offers today, but including everything, whether it is email security, zero trust, WAF, API, right? Every solution gets powered with some element of AI, either in terms of reducing the false positives or in terms of faster decision making. That's how we are helping and ensuring that every now and then, right, whenever we see some zero-day threats coming or something coming, right, without waiting for the signature, how can we
Yeah.
leave our own internal database to protect and prevent against those kind of attacks? Yeah.
Great. I think this has been a great conversation with both of you, Vikrant and Hitesh. I have one last question. Looking ahead 3 to 5 years from now, how do you see AI redefining the entire cybersecurity ecosystem in India and globally? So if, Vikrant, you want to take it up and then I can come to Hitesh.
Sure, Khushbu. So looking forward to next 3 to 5 years, maybe I would try and answer this in, 2, 3 pointers, right? One is definitely AI would be leveraged as a force multiplier, right? Wherein it will, in the space of cybersecurity, AI is going to improve your threat detection to what just Hitesh said, right? Because traditional security tools, which are more equipped with supporting your on-prem infrastructure, not really ready for, cloud solutions and all, right? They do not have a capability to have a more proactive approach towards identifying threats and defining risks. Rather, they rely on traditional signatures and known patterns and everything, as I said early in the conversation, which is definitely not going to support today's rapidly evolving threat landscape because of the sheer volume and velocity. It's everything is data driven these days. Most of the industries are data driven, right? So the volume and velocity is not very likely for a traditional tool to keep up with that. So we definitely need AI to force multiply the efforts and definitely reduce time to resolve things, identify threats, respond to security requirements, and likewise. The second thing is we are in a phase wherein cyber defense is rising as an autonomous cyber defense, right? We are in a need of systems that can detect, as well as decide, take appropriate actions. Maybe that depends on how we are using it, but we are looking at AI, or we are going to look at AI which could do anything and everything to us, for us, right? So it should be a complete solution, right? So that's where various solutions, including Cloudflare and all the other industry cloud-ready solutions, they would evolve using AI to provide an autonomous approach to deal with cyber threats end to end, right? The third thing that I want to, and finally, maybe I would like to close with that is the whole thing is democratization of all the things, right? So there are geopolitical wars happening. There are different OEMs working in different regions and all those things. And definitely companies, be it Cloudflare or for that matter, any other OEMs, they are definitely making a lot of efforts to make these cloud-ready AI-powered solutions be available for all the industries, right?
Right.
Not only for regulated industries. They are helping small firms, they are helping big firms, mid-sized firms, insurance, CICs, banks. They are trying to help everyone according to their needs. And definitely AI is gonna help them build that capability. Definitely, they are already on their journey, but all these solution providers will definitely leverage a lot of AI capabilities to build those solutions, and then finally bring some democracy in terms of usage of these solutions or leveraging their capabilities to protect the organizations. So that's what I have to say.
Sure. Hitesh, your thoughts on these?
Yeah, I can just think of a couple of points here. One is, of course, if you look at 3 years back when the AI was just being experimented by many organizations, right? We were not sure of the outcome or the decision that was being made by the tools, right? But today we are in a very, very advanced stage, very mature stage where we know that the decision making capability has improved. because of the data that we gather, and then based on the data, the decision is being made. Right now, if you apply the same formula for the next 3 to 5 years, right? Obviously, I see that that will be very, very accurate in terms of how we are utilizing the data to make some decisions. Second thing is we will not have such a dearth of skills around AI. Today, we still see, there are not very experts available to understand AI implementation. So we have to always look forward to something which is very, very specific and niche skill in that market.
Right.
But forward, I think that will get resolved because today, right from like institutes, colleges, right, they have all this AI based courses, introduced, which was not there a few years back, right? Which
Yeah.
means next generation 3 to 5 year would be AI ready from the mindset perspective. They would anyway know how can they leverage AI, and from the companies like cybersecurity, and sky is the limit. I can just think of
Yeah.
how we, see all this data across us and make some meaningful, tools which can help us to protect our customers and, stay all of them secure, in a very, very sophisticated manner. I think that's what I'm looking at. I can think of.
Superb. Great. I think this has been a great conversation. Absolutely. AI is everywhere. We are on fire. So I keep saying that. But this has been a great conversation. And it's interesting time to see how it all grows from here on. But thank you so much once again for joining us on the mainstream and sharing all your valuable insight, Vikrant and Hitesh.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Kush. Thank you so much for inviting.
Wonderful
Thanks.
question.
Thank you, Hitesh.